On our planet, there seems to be an infinite number of beautiful places one can visit, with an equal number of spectacular things to admire. It requires nothing more than a curiosity to observe what is all around you. The miracle of nature manifests in countless ways, from breathtaking vistas to the simple movements of a common heifer. The purpose of this program is to present you with the extraordinary diversity of our miraculous blue planet so that you can discover these things for yourself. Today, we will travel to the very north of Great Britain, the Shetland Islands. Here, 1 million birds watch as the human population, numbering only 20,000, gets on with their everyday lives. The cooler climate accounts for the purposeful character of the locals. We will then travel from the very end of the world to its very center. The local nomadic dervishes call the Pshi-Balchashi region in the southeastern province of Kazakhstan, Almaty, the center of the world. Later, we will follow our camera to the Yellow Mountains in central China and the Chengkang, known as the Venice of China. Our last stop will bring us back to the center of Europe. We will visit a region of the Czech Republic known as Bohemian Paradise. Here we will explore rocky labyrinths and ancient castles. We will also discover the semi-precious stone called Czech garnets. Up until 1970, this area was known as Zetland. Today, we know it as the Shetland Islands, the northernmost province of Great Britain. It is under Scottish administration. These islands are spoken about in the history of the Romans, Vikings, and of course the Anglo-Saxons. The islands also played an important role during the Second World War when they were used, among other things, as a transition for Allied spies. Only 16 out of the hundreds of islands in this group are inhabited. The largest island has the simple name, mainland. The fauna is not quite as poor as we might have expected from a location on the 60th parallel. The warm Gulf current affects the temperature of the sea. The result is a sea temperature that never falls below 5 degrees Celsius. Puffins are the most distinctive inhabitants of the seaside cliffs. Despite their size and apparent helplessness, the puffins deal impressively with the sharp winds and uncomfortable rocky nests, which they often swap for burrows in the gravel coastline. The cliffs are washed by the waters of the Pacific Ocean and the North Sea. For geographers, the Shetland Islands represent an ocean dividing line. No point inland is further than 5 kilometers from the coast. The highest point is Ronas Hill, rising 450 meters above sea level. Indulging in seal watching is a pleasant way to pass the time while waiting to spot the mysterious high-fin sperm whale. Though no one has ever seen this whale for sure, it's universally believed to regularly visit the bays around the Shetland Islands. The islands are an important bird-watching venue. Because 1 million birds live on the islands, it was natural that bird watching would become so popular. The traditional industries of farming and rearing sheep do not profit from bird watching. The vast pastures are no problem for the sheep whose wool is so thick, they can easily survive even the coldest winters. Each owner of a flock must train their sheepdog with fast commands and whistling. A well-trained dog that obeys its master's commands without hesitation is the pride of every farmer. The Shetland sheep are indigenous to the islands. They are related to the extinct Scottish dunface. They are characterized by a smaller overall size and wool of high quality. This flock, and many others, will have their wool collected to be used in knitting the famous and very warm Shetland sweaters and quilts. Historically, wool has been one of the most important trading articles for the islands. Because of its quality, it quickly gained an excellent international reputation. At first, the wool fell is sorted according to quality and type. The roughest wool is destined for carpet making, and the best for the making of sweaters. Wool that appears to be as wispy as a cobweb is considered to be the most valuable. The wool is usually dyed for export purposes. However, the traditional local products are usually made from natural wool. The skillful hands of these seamstresses create first-class tweed suits, scarves, sweaters, and quilts. Knitting has even been elevated to a course offered in the local university. At first sight, the isolated landscape seems to be scarred by remnants of walls. Are they from an archaeological site? Actually, this is where another local industry is in full swing: peat extraction. Peat is a byproduct of plants. It is considered a valuable fertilizer and is also used to make high-quality biological filters. Once dried, all that remains are bits of plant root. Peat is used on the islands as fuel, as wood is in extremely short supply. During the Bronze and Iron Ages, people believed that the might of the gods of nature was hidden in peat. Even the first Shetland settlers, the Vikings, used peat as fuel. First, it is necessary to remove the top layer of the earth. Then, this particular spade is used to cut out little peat bricks, briquettes. The very best peat is found the deeper you can dig. The annual permit for the extraction of peat works out to about $30. Though entities that extract the peat have a significant labor cost, the cost of the actual energy is considered quite cheap. Peat briquettes burn easily and produce a lot less smoke than does wood. But the Nature Protection Societies warn that peat extraction, especially the industrial type, destroys the natural habitat of many plants and animals. This, in turn, contributes to the extinction of some plant and animal species because it takes the peat bogs several hundred years to rebuild. Peat bogs make up 2% of the Earth's surface and cover about 3 million square kilometers. This pony, the Shetland pony, is as special in its own way as the Shetland sheep. The Viking invaders brought the ponies to the islands. Over centuries, the cold, harsh climate caused the breed to evolve, gradually becoming extremely hardy. Countless generations have used this stubborn-by-nature pony as a primary means of transport. It is said that the ponies require tough and uncompromising handling. The ponies grow to about 1 meter at the shoulders. The question of their future breeding is a source of dispute and differing opinion. While some wish to breed as small as possible super pony, others claim that the pony must be, above all else, useful. Regardless of what fate has in store for the Shetland pony, one thing is for sure. The pony symbolizes the development of the Shetland society, from tough and stubborn Vikings to the smiling, caring, and hardworking men and women of today. Footpath to the beach, and in the opposite direction, simply footpath. These simple signs enable one to quickly become oriented to the islands. The islands are so small that it is next to impossible to get lost. Let us harness the wind blowing above the sea, and let it bring us all the way to Kazakhstan. The first human traces in Kazakhstan are documented back to 2,000 years BCE. In the 2nd millennium AD, descendants of the nomadic herdsmen lived in huge cities and only visited the homes of their ancestors living in the wilderness and steppes for holidays. Kazakhstan was a territory at the epicenter of the Great Game, the Anglo-Russian conflict over Central Asia. During the communist era, the Russians established their power through the building of important infrastructure in the area. In 1991, Kazakhstan, together with the former Soviet satellites, gained independence. Traversing the country of Kazakhstan would require several months because its surface area is equivalent to that of the entire continent of Europe. Let us visit the region in the southeast, a place known as Przybalchashi, meaning 7 rivers. 7 rivers originate here and flow to either the Aral Sea or the Balkhash Lake. The most important of these rivers is called the Charon River. It is a significant source of water and contains breathtaking scenery, which was created in the rocks surrounding it over the centuries. Only 200 kilometers from the capital Almaty lies the Charon Pass, visited by people from around the globe. Russian rafters discovered the pass only 40 years ago. They called it Dolina Zamkov, which is Russian for the Valley of Castles. The rock formations all around them seem to resemble the dwellings of mountain giants, or, with just a little imagination, the surface of an unknown planet. At first sight, it's hard to believe that the Charon, which appears now as an innocent stream, could be the culprit responsible for the creation of such magnificent formations. But unlike its flow in the summer, during the springtime glacier thaw, the Charon becomes an energy-charged whitewater monster. Rugged nature has a tendency to cause people to fabricate myths about it. Similarly, the Soviet occupation left a number of urban legends in its wake. The archaeologists discovered the statue of the Golden Man in 1969, but local legend has a different version of its discovery. The story goes that a drunken tractor driver fell out of his machine and knocked his head on something hard. Another story claims that it was discovered by a man wishing to turn this mound into a garage. In any case, this happens to be the armor of a Sake king, the symbol of modern Kazakhstan. Sometime in the spring, between April and May, the steppe awakens from its winter slumber. This is the time when one marvels at the blooming flowers. The Kazakh steppe is the home to wild tulips, which, in places, form yellow or yellow-orange carpets. Forget the Dutch hybrids. This is the real thing. Falconry is a traditional means of making a living. Lately, this skill is making way for the more profitable opportunities in agriculture or office jobs in the big cities. The falconers were always honored members of society, and the skill of commanding birds was passed down from generation to generation. A group of enthusiasts from the Nora village is attempting to keep the skill contemporary, or at least maintain its importance for the Kazakh culture. Together, they established a center housing the Museum of Falconry, which contains items closely knit to falconry. They also offer falconry training for those interested. Above anything, the Pshi-Balchashi fills the dry steppes. At the dawn of the 20th century, the steppes provided the nomadic dervishes with something they were seeking for a long, long time: tranquility, peace, natural beauty, and a mystical place. According to the dervishes, the center of the world lies right here. It is deemed to be a place where the energy from the cosmos meets the energy of the earth. The dervishes occupied themselves with science and meditation. With the aid of these combined energies, they could cure various diseases. Anyone, regardless of their religion or social standing, could come here for healing. This rock radiates heat while the surrounding ground is cold. And so, for instance, should you suffer from rheumatism, you should stand atop the rock and allow its energy to pass through your body. Pshi-Balchashi hides a number of secrets. It also invites musing and meditation. The sweeping yet tranquil steppes beckon to be explored on horseback. Sadly, we have to move on to central China. Welcome to central China, or as the locals call it, the Empire of the Center. As a result of thousands of years of tradition, the Chinese perceive their immense country to be the true navel on the body of the world. Miss Gao prepares a cup of tea, but not in a way we are accustomed to. She uses a tea bag and boiling water from a tea can. The traditional tea drinking ceremony is actually an ancient ritual. It requires years of painstaking practice. The whole process has to be carried out as diligently, magically, and nobly as possible. It must be accomplished with perfection. The complex ritual is accompanied by music from the sacred Kucheng. In China, music and art were often inspired by the Yellow Mountains or Huangshan. In the 17th century, the scholar and traveler Zhu Jiake wrote about the breathtaking scenery of a mountain ridge overgrown by pine trees in the following words: "When a man once discovers Huangshan, he loses the desire to conquer other peaks as he comes to the realization that his journey has come to an end." These peaks enjoy poetic names: the Lion's Summit or the Monkey Looking Out to the Sea. They evoke the world of ancient legends. One better-known legend is about the unfortunate lovers, Tai Ching and Mao Chiken, who decided to end their suffering by jumping into the ocean of clouds. The old Zen masters perceived the age-long game of the clouds and the mountain peaks as a battle, and at the same time as the harmony of the opposites, the principles of yin and yang. The temples high up in the mountains are not easily accessible. Therefore, a number of tourists prefer to be carried up there on a sedan chair. The porters claim that they save the lives of many. Several hundred kilometers from the Yellow Mountains lie another natural gem of China, a bamboo forest, the motif of many a Chinese painting. The course of the water from the waterfall is diverted from the mountain range of the Yellow Mountains. Aerialists, able to bend their bodies into all sorts of odd shapes or overcome their own survival instincts by cycling on a rope high in the air, are very popular in China. Miss Gao is almost done with the tea ceremony and pours the first cup of fragrant Chinese tea. Let's have a taste of this delicious hot brew. We may need it, as a trip to the cold waters of the unique town of Chengkang lies in store for us. The modern buildings of Chengkang have nothing more to offer than traditional life similar to that in any other small Chinese town. Its historical center is much more appealing. Chengkang was established in the time of the Song Dynasty, more than 1,000 years ago, and is now on the UNESCO National Heritage Site list. One could say that Chengkang is the Chinese equivalent of Venice. The life rhythm is adapted to the water which bathes the foundations of each and every house. Movement on the lake is uncomplicated, using a simple boat or a ferry, and it is ecological. Central Asia is truly a place of huge contrasts. But how is Central Europe doing? Let's find out. Right in the very center of Europe lies the Czech Republic. And in the very center of the Czech Republic lies a region known as the Bohemian Paradise. Millions of years ago, volcanoes and oceans raged here. At that time, they created alternating peaceful and dramatic vistas. Today, people living in this area live harmonious lives. They preoccupy themselves with agriculture and basically mind their own business. The communist repression affected a number of the agricultural estates in the Bohemian Paradise, The bees, however, seem oblivious to this fact. Just as did their predecessors, they collect nectar in the surrounding forests and from picturesque meadows, making honey that is praised for its purity of taste. Many of the villages maintain an air of traditional countryside life. These unchanged wooden cottages are a testimony to that. Many castles and palaces are maintained in perfect condition, even though they no longer are occupied by their original aristocratic owners. The Troski Castle is of particular interest. It was built on two volcanic craters in the 14th century by Chenyek from Wartenberg. The Prachowski Mountains are made of sandstone. It is what made them an ideal building material for entire generations of local inhabitants. But they did not quarry the sandstone and take it to an off-site building location. They actually carved the dwellings directly into the rock. The last dwelling was made by a local farmer sometime during the second half of the 12th century. The varied and deciduous forest hides peculiar rock formations. Up close, it is surprising how high these are. The region, therefore, is a favorite location among mountain climbers and tourists who come here to either test their strength or simply to relax in the shade of the rocky labyrinth. Many of the peaks are only accessible using the man-made passages or ladder systems. The way up can often be quite dramatic, but it is rewarded with stunning views over the imposing surrounding landscape of the Bohemian paradise. It was on peaks such as these that robber barons built their abodes. The area also served as the hiding place to people being religiously persecuted by the Czech kingdom. Each peak has its own character and is named accordingly. Loner, the Mace, Crooked Tower, Wreck, Dry Love. The Bohemian paradise is more than just the land of towering sandstones, stunning panoramas, and historical castles. It is also the place where the Czech garnets, the world-renowned semi-precious stones, originate. The garnet is the age-old symbol of the Czech kingdom. The stones are said to be petrified droplets of the blood of the gods. The ancient healers consider the garnets to be a universally fortunate stone meant as a source of life's energy and courage, as well as a source of joy to its lucky owner. These semi-precious stones are turned into stunning jewelry in the town of Turnov. A sun, colored like the Czech garnets, sets above the castle of Troski. And with it, we say our goodbyes. Our journey to the miraculous nooks of our planet comes to an end, for now. On the next exploration of our compelling and bountiful planet Earth, we will travel to the region of southern Moravia. Did you really think that orchids only thrive in the tropics? Far from it. These phenomenal and exquisite plants also flourish in the very heart of Europe. Later, we will go back to the Caribbean, to Cuba. Cuba is a place of unbelievable natural beauty and of brutal cockfighting. Then, finally, we will visit Fiji in the Pacific Ocean. Its enchanting nature is often untouched by humans, and so it is perceived as a true paradise on Earth. That's all right here on Miracles of Nature. We hope you'll join us. On our planet, there seems to be an infinite number of beautiful places one can visit, with an equal number of spectacular things to admire. It requires nothing more than a curiosity to observe what is all around you. The miracle of nature manifests in countless ways, from breathtaking vistas to the simple movements of a common heifer. The purpose of this program is to present you with the extraordinary diversity of our miraculous blue planet so that you can discover these things for yourself. Today, we are headed for the Czech Republic and to the region of southern Moravia. Did you really think that orchids only thrive in the tropics? Far from it. These phenomenal and exquisite plants also flourish in the very heart of Europe. Later, we will go back to the Caribbean, to Cuba. Cuba is a place of unbelievable natural beauty and of brutal cockfighting. Then, finally, we will visit Fiji in the Pacific Ocean. Its enchanting nature is often untouched by humans, and so it is perceived as a true paradise on Earth. We begin in the Czech Republic.